Freedom slips up. No, that's no longer in existence. That's no longer right. No, it's revolution.radio. Revolution.radio. That's right.
That's correct.
So thank you very much for dialing in. Home to ideas which are fresh. Well, they're ideas. Ideas are always good. Come on. Well, except for the bad ones. They're not good. Just so
you're clear.
Just remember, the good ideas are good and the bad ideas are not so good. Okay, so we're clear on that. Good.
We're leaning in on the fascism there a little.
Hey. I know, right? But there's a place for fascism. Having said that, there's a place for everything, my friend, even cockroaches. Today is Thursday, the 4th. It's the 4th of the 4th, 2024. 4-4.
So true.
2024. So it's 4-4. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4. Tomorrow is my wedding anniversary, believe it or not.
Oh, congrats in advance.
It's the crystal one. That's right. You can figure that out for yourselves. But more importantly than that, well, I didn't say that, is that this is listener-funded radio, right? So if you can, please donate cash. You know, it's all good. Cryptocurrency, well, whatever have you. It's all goodness. Now, if you can't, and that's okay too, because that's the times we're living in. If you cannot donate, please tell people about the station. Tell people about this show, other shows that you might like, right? And while you're telling them, you can tell them the archives are free, because they are. The archives are free. You can go in there and binge as much as you like, because that's the thing we do now, right?
The price is
so
right.
Yes, if you that's the price is gratis, it's free, delicious. If you can donate, if you cannot, please spread the word. That's how we get listenership, and that's how the station stays alive. It really is that simple. The more people know, the more people listen, the more people are likely to donate, which of course keeps the electrons bouncing through the copper, and that's what we like. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, and we will, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
I'm in Bundjalung country.
For a limited time only, and I'm, of course, in what has turned out to be, and tomorrow, in fact, a very wet Darak people country. And we would like to pay our respect.
Did you get the message to build the ark?
Oh, I got the ark in the backyard. It's not big enough. I can get one of each microbe. You can fit on it. We'd like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Thank you very much. Dave, you're right. Tomorrow, I heard anything between 700 mil and 200 mil, which is significant rainfall. 70 centimeters, 200 centimeters.
That just also depends. What I heard was up and down the coast, 25 mils per hour.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's very heavy. Remember that movie with Eddie Murphy called Chubby Rain?
I do not. Chubby Rain?
Yeah, that was the fictitious movie they were filming inside the movie. It's very funny.
I don't think I do.
And Eddie Murphy resembled... Eddie Murphy playing the roustabout on the film.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's meant to play the lead role, but he's MIA, and then they get this other guy to play it, who's also Eddie Murphy. It's very funny with braces.
Oh, no. Okay, I hate to say this, Dave.
What?
I love Eddie Murphy. I've always loved Eddie Murphy. I know all of Eddie Murphy's movies. I don't know that one.
Wow, that's okay.
No, it really isn't, Dave. You don't understand.
You're not slipping. I'm telling you. Shush it. Shush it.
Do me a favor. Send me a link to that. I just pray I forgot about it.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it's not called Chubby Rain. It is about a book that gets turned into a movie. But inside the movie they're making, I think, is called Chubby Rain. Anyway. So that very heavy rain is 25 mils an hour. And
Bullfinger.
That's right.
I know Bullfinger. Oh, good God.
Woo! So, because you typed Chubby Rain, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, good man. Okay, so having 25 mils per hour, but have it rain for 8 hours is a lot. of rain.
Oh, and the thing is this: it doesn't just stay where it falls; it goes
Oh no, it doesn't
places.
do that. No, that's right.
That's the problem, and that's why they're talking about flash flooding and such.
So
Because it
the
could.
Hawkesbury River has a catchment that starts way up in the top of the Blue Mountains, and then goes halfway across Sydney Basin with the Nepean River, and then turns into the Hawkesbury Major, and then goes out to sea. And that whole thing has been underwater in the past. And the Warragamba Dam is in the middle of that, and it's already full. So everything that rains is going to spill over the top of that, and that's not going to be much fun for anybody. My friend who came to see me when I was up here in Budgelow Country, when he drove back, there was only a minor amount of rain in Coffs Harbour, but there was 2 feet of flooding.
Oh wow!
So I'm holding off all travels to be safe, because I know that I might stumble into the Central Coast but can't get home because it's flooded in.
100%. Right?
So, this is pretty significant. And for everyone else in the world who doesn't know what we're talking about, the eastern coast between Brisbane and just south of Sydney is experiencing a huge water event, and it's going to be pretty hard on us. So just keep your eyes peeled for any news stories you see, and maybe send them through to us so we can see what it looks like from the other part of the world. What made it out of our little sphere.
That would be good. That would be actually really, really excellent. Look, so there is that. I was in the city today. I had a lunch meeting, and it wasn't raining very hard, so it was all good. But what I did see was an inordinate number of homeless people. And of course, with weather like this, I mean, in the summertime, look, sleeping rough is horrible. But if you have to sleep rough, it's better to sleep rough in the summer and the spring than in the autumn and the winter, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at all these people and building nests, literally building nests.
Yes,
in
I know, right?
Like fire escape doors. If you go down to Chinatown, which I went to recently, not today, and a lot of, I guess, closed shops there down the main street, Dixon Street.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where the gate is as well. And that's where people are sort of nesting now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them.
It's like apocalypse, isn't it?
You know, in many ways it is. I know I've talked to you guys about the movie They Live.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is American economy is in bad shape, and the protagonist is actually a construction worker, right? And he left his home state, and they never really say where from, but he left his home state to go to LA because he thought maybe construction work was more abundant there. So he went there with his tools, etc., etc., and he's sleeping rough in an area that is occupied by homeless people. Now the movie was made in 1988. Okay.
Good year.
And maybe it wasn't quite as bad then as it is today, but it was foreshadowing just how bad it was going to get, because there were families living there, regular folk. I'm not talking about drug addicts. Like this place where he went to, like the sleeping rough place with lean-tos and the shanty little, arrangements, shanty town type stuff. That was just regular folk. And there was one TV everybody watched that was connected to some power outlet, and so on and so forth. But back in '88, right, it was already foreshadowing in many ways what would happen in later years. And now, if we're looking at places, especially like San Francisco and LA, New York is probably not as bad, I should think. Last time I was there, it didn't look that bad, but it certainly is become a huge issue, everybody. It's become a massive problem. And after 2008, when about, I think 5 or 6 million people, or I should say 5 or 6 million homes were foreclosed, and that many people lost their homes, you can imagine just what that would have done to people sleeping in their car and sleeping on park benches. And not people that you would think. And in fact, today, Dave, I was listening to, that's what I do all day, listening to news and such. And and it was a very sobering thing that was brought up. The report went on to say how we have never had quite as many homeless people in Australia as we do now, and you have to ask yourself: a country as rich, as big as America or US, as rich as any other country in natural resources, how did it get to a point of such horrible mismanagement that we now no longer have homes for people that, and the thing is this. They also said that people are going to the food banks. Now, a food bank is somewhere where you can pick up a free meal, some grocery items, and they're donated by other people. Essentially, it's just what it sounds like. It's a food bank. You go there if you can't afford groceries, right? And now they're saying that people with jobs and even careers that have living in homes, in order to save money to pay the bills, I guess, electricity and such, they have to go to the food bank, because the one item they can save on, I guess, is groceries, because there are places like a food bank.
That's right.
Because if you don't pay your mortgage, you're out on your ear. You can't pay your electricity or your gas. I mean, okay, you still have a house, but none of your appliances work, right? So you're cooking outdoors. So where do you save? And a lot of people cut back on food. And another thing that was that came out in an analysis today. So while spending is up, consumer spending is up, right? However, discretionary spending is way down. Now, what that means is, due to the cost of living pressure and inflation and price gouging, people are paying more for the things they have to buy. So there's some things you just can't help, you have to buy. But these days, you have to pay a lot more money for it. I'm sure if you fill up your car or you've gone to the grocery store recently, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whereas all the, I guess, the fun bits, the things that you want to spend money on, like, maybe a fun day in the city or in the park with your family, or maybe a ferry ride somewhere, whatever it might be, maybe going to a sporting event even, that is gone. That is completely gone. And at the same time, the rich got immensely richer. So the billionaires, as Dave has put it so eloquently, widened the chasm between them and, I guess, all of us. And
I'm glad you're on board, Becky.
Yeah, look, you know how I feel about billionaires. And this is insane. Now, Flea here says everybody broke and getting more broke except the top 5%. They've never had it better. I agree, except it's not the top 5%. It's a fraction of the top 1%.
Yeah. So
altogether, I think I said this last time, there are 2,600 billionaires. 2,600 billionaires, right? That's how many billionaires there are. Oh, officially. Let's call this the official number, right? You know what? I'll say, let's just make it an even number, easy to calculate as well. Let's say there's 8,000 billionaires. There's not, but let's say there are 8,000 billionaires in the world.
Sure.
Right? Now, there are 8 billion of us. 8 billion. 8,000 billionaires constitute 1/millionth of the total number. 1/millionth. Forget. This is now fractional percent. This is 0.00001% of the population that has that wealth, and it's ridiculous. The wealth that is concentrated in the super rich. Okay, it is completely ridiculous. In fact, what we're seeing is an erosion of the living standards of the middle class. Forget the poor people. They have no pot to do their business in, as they say. The middle class is being eroded, which is of course the driver of the economy. But the regular rich people, and this is going to sound really crazy, the regular rich people are also getting poorer. Because the cost of living pressure gets the regular rich. No, what's a regular rich person? A regular rich person is someone that has maybe $1, $2, maybe $3 million in assets, in cash, whatever it might be, right? Maybe up to $5 million. That's a regular rich person. You think, hey, that person is really well off. That's great. Well, think again, right? They're not rich enough to have the best tax lawyers in the world. Okay, so that's out the window. They're not rich enough to know all the tricks, right? They may have their own business, which is another pressure on top of it. Right? They have to look after people. They pay taxes, and they pay taxes through the nose. They're subject to exactly the same cost pressures as Dave and I, and you for that matter, right? On paper, they look rich, but they're not actually rich. Certainly not in Australia, because again, it's the tax man that gets you. Right? They're not rich enough to get out of this death spiral. So they're the regular rich people, which are getting much poorer now because the cost of living pressures, like I said, are hitting them just as hard as anybody else. They're in a better position to weather it, right? They're in a better position to maybe even survive it, but they're not thriving. In order to thrive in this kind of economy, you have to be super rich. Right? You have to be really, really rich, wealthy, to thrive in this kind of economy. Because this kind of economy is the bee's knees if you're super rich. There's so much opportunity. People can't afford to pay a mortgage. I'll buy another 100 houses. I'll buy acreage of land, right? I'll lay off 1,000 people because I can. It's my company, and that'll increase my profit margin. What do I care about 1,000 people? You see, the super rich don't even get a scratch. So flee, not the top 1%. Sorry, not the top 5%. We're talking about fractions of percentages here. We like to think, because 5%, you think that sounds all right. Even top 10%, even top 1%.
It's like I'd allow that. That's right.
Yeah, that sounds like that's a number I can. Yeah, okay, I get it. But in real terms, the top 1% of 8 billion is 80 million. 80 million. There's not 80 million top 1%ers. There just isn't. That's the population of Germany. 80 million people is the population of Germany. Okay? So no. Like I said, billionaires officially 2,600. Not 80 million. So
That's
see,
right.
this is where people see. Everybody always talks about the top 1%. No, this is a fraction.
That's right.
A fraction of the top 1%. So, in effect, the real billionaires, like we shared with you, are not even mentioned by Forbes. There was one Rothschild on
That's
the list,
right.
which I had never heard of.
Yes.
Like some second cousin. He's only got 5 billion. He's a pleb.
Just like the Illuminati one that contacted me, Mackie.
Yeah.
Not even in the family tree.
I know, right? And Flea is saying, let's steal the top 1% money. So, I don't know, Flea, if you listen much to the show or trying this out, but it's been my contention now for a couple of years, maybe longer, that we can no longer afford billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
If you make $100 million, you get a certificate from the world. Congratulations, you've won. And $100 million, I think anyone would agree, in my opinion, $100 million, hey, that's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
That's not monopoly money, right? That's cold hard cash you can do a whole bunch of stuff with. Now, there is no justification for the existence of billionaires. And make no mistake, very soon there'll be a new class of I don't know, mega wealthy or ultra wealthy, which will be trillionaires. We're not that far away from the trillionaires. Okay? That's what's going to happen. And it will be there, and that's when it all goes downhill. But we can no longer afford them. Yes, we should take that wealth. Leave them $100 million. Right? On the off chance they actually earned it without being the worst human being ever, right? Leave them the $100 million. I'm not saying they have to live in a poor house, but if you took those trillions of dollars of those 2,500 people, those trillions of dollars, you could feed everybody, you could send everybody to school, you could clothe everybody, you could house everybody on the planet. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you know what? Let's just get rid of the political class and forget about wars and take all of that money and put it into something like that is good for people.
So, just on that point, if we didn't have wars and we didn't need to make a defensive team and an offensive team and protect ourselves from the possibilities of war, Because once you all start doing it, then we're where we are now.
Yes.
If even that money was used to house and feed everybody, done, sorted.
I know, right?
You don't have to worry about it. If all the food, and then this is a huge point that I know that Meki we've talked about before, but I've learnt something new today. It was to do with a lettuce farmer in Australia who, for example, mentioned numbers, wasn't giving anything away particularly, but said, look, just for ease of numbers, let's say a major retailer in Australia ordered 1,000 per month head of lettuce. That means, she said, me and my team will plant 1,000 head of lettuce in anticipation of the orders and supply those monthly. Not a problem. Said the first month got 1,000 orders, like 1,000 total order. That's great. And there's an agreement to supply them, right? And then the second month, 1,000. Third month, 1,000. Fourth month, we only want 500. Yeah, but you said you wanted 1,000. Oh, no, we've got heaps, so don't need it. Yeah, but I planted it. Well, I don't care what you do with it. We don't want it. And the next month, 500 again. So how do you keep up with their, the supplier doesn't want to take too many on if they're not selling them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they have a shelf life. And this is true, and lettuce was an example they gave, but the imagery I saw today in a news story showed citrus, like tomatoes and zucchinis, and they're just ploughing them into the ground.
Yeah.
Like all the resources to grow them, for them to just get ploughed into the ground needlessly. Like,
see, that's a crime. I'm sorry, but it's a crime.
They could have been given to people.
But see, that's the problem. We can't give stuff away because that diminishes the value of the marketplace. That's why.
I know.
See, that's sorry, go on. That's just nuts.
Because that's called dumping.
Yeah.
Dumping doesn't mean you tip them out. It means you give them away for free.
that's right. The great unwashed are getting it. Oh, they're like garbage anyway, aren't they? It's dumping. Garbage people.
You're not allowed to take them to the tip. You're meant to actually just plough them into the ground. And there's nuts.
Oh my! I tell you what.
They're like my parents told me. You don't want to eat those boiled Brussels sprouts. Well, you're not going to leave the table till you do. Remember, there's people starving in Africa, and every kid in Gen X who got that phrase, just in their head, send them. I'll mail them. What's their address? Right? I'll send them to them. They can eat them because they're idiots. Please don't boil Brussels sprouts ever again.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And if you don't eat them now, I'll serve them to you for breakfast. How valuable are these things? I mean, what? Right?
All right.
I never did that with my kids. I realise that people have different taste buds.
Yeah,
you might like something, they might not. So don't stress kids out. How quickly do you think you can get an eating disorder created? I don't know. Start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
Mackie, I had a stupid thing to talk about, and that's, there is so much noise right now on the 8th of April for the eclipse. There is so much noise, and I wanted to have a little squiz to see what I could find on it from the mainstream media. And I found something here. There's 4 stories here. So the first one, easy find, Newsweek, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. It says National Guard to be deployed for solar eclipse 2024. National Guard. I don't remember having an eclipse ever where Australia's deployed its army. Yeah? Or in America, of course, the National Guard. Okay, sure. Geez, it must be very serious, whatever they're talking about. And of course, the conspiracy theories, you can only imagine when I mentioned the next one here. And there's a video embedded in that news story that says Texas officials warn schools to close ahead of the solar eclipse. And then I found another story. Wait, another story on Newsweek. It says map shows warnings for people to stock up on food ahead of the solar eclipse. So there's National Guard, and now they're telling you to prepare. Stock up. Don't put your kids in school. Yeah? And I found another news story, which is, it's a different brand. This is MSN, and it says states warn people to stock up on food, water, and fuel before the solar eclipse. You're what?
See,
and then they're saying solar eclipse 2024. School districts explain why schools are closing in several states. Sure.
So why? So my question is this: I know what a solar eclipse is. I actually fully understand the mechanisms,
That's right.
etc.
Yeah.
I assume this is a full eclipse.
It is.
So now, if it was a coronal discharge at that time, that would be okay, because again, the moon would take the brunt of it.
That's right.
Okay. So, what is the rationale here? What is the explanation as to why these precautions are being undertaken? What happened?
That's a really good question, because this National Guard to be deployed, in one story it says Oklahoma's National Guard is said to be deployed for the upcoming total solar eclipse, when as many as 100,000 people are expected to visit one county, just one county, and they want crowd control.
Okay. So police can't handle it. Clearly, that's what they're saying.
They're talking about the influx of visitors, potential to overtax local resources. Blah blah blah. Keeps going. The best thing we should do. Remember, this is Newsweek. Best thing we should do is just use the National Guard, right? Just use them. And, police can be policing, and the National Guard can be National Guarding, right?
But why are they asking you to stock up? What are they expecting? I mean,
exactly, right? It says here, most people have heard about the eclipse, blah, blah, blah. It happens every 18 months or so. Every 18 months, Mickey, but I've never heard of this.
This is a unique event, as it actually goes right across, almost diagonally across the United States from.
Yes, I know.
From sort of east to west kind of things, like it starts.
It's kind of south, west up to northeast.
Kind of, yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So it comes up from Mexico and then goes all the way across the central states and then sort of heads out over Canada. But the whole path will be obviously a total eclipse, and I assume that Australia will be in the path as well.
No,
some of it. Not at all.
Not at all.
Okay.
At all. So it's all done and dusted. So the warning issued about the food and the gasoline is as a result of all of these countless people, Mickey, countless, can't count them, there's too many, countless people. Officials are worried that the added population will put a strain on certain resources. That's it. Alarmingly, this includes hospitals and roadways.
Yeah.
So, fuel, food, water, don't send your kids to school, National Guard. I don't know. So
go on.
the weird part of this is that the conspiracy discussions, the discussions in the back rooms and around the barbecues with the beer. Oh, do you know what's going on? there's a bit of a gap here because they don't really explain it. Not enough, and not solidly enough, and with the same messaging everywhere. And so it seems like maybe something's going to happen. Because they wouldn't tell you something's going to happen, because then no one would watch it. No one would go out and see it. As long do you know what's missing from all this messaging? Don't forget the correct eye protection.
Well, that's correct.
That's not in here. It's not in any of their advices. So they're caught up in trying to tell you without. We don't want to tell you what's actually happening. So do all these things. I don't know why, but just do them, right? There'll be people, right? So that's enough. Maybe too many people, but doesn't matter. Just do it. And all the conspiracy people are thinking, I wonder what's really happening.
So can I just say something here? There's something called fact check. So I did a quick search. Factcheck.org. Right.
So that's always going to be tell the truth. Yep.
I don't know, but there's a really salient point here. So, posts make anonymous, unfounded claims about April 8th. Claims are that local governments are preparing for April 8th because they know something catastrophic will happen, and misleading. But there was something here that was false. Hang on. Where was it? This was about National Guard deployed. Right. So it says here. There's one here that says National Guard will be deployed, and it says that particular claim was false. However, can't find it right now. But then I've got from other news agencies and from the National Guard itself saying that we will be deployed during April 8th.
Fact checkers can fact check themselves. They're useless.
Here we go. Firstcoastnews.com. Common misconceptions around the solar eclipse. Claim the National Guard is deployed during an eclipse for possible disasters. Fact checked by First Coast News. False. Okay. AL.com. National Guard will be deployed for a solar eclipse. Okay. And here, fact check National Guard. Yes, they're deployed. But apparently it needs context. Unionleader.com. National Guard will be deployed for solar eclipse. Okla, this is AMS.1. National Guard will be deployed to assist first responders in counties, etc., etc. So it's funny. So they officially, the National Guard will be deployed. I can tell you that in certain states. Okay, just to be clear. Here, in fact, Oklahoma, Scripps News. Solar eclipse prompts National Guard response in Oklahoma. Oklahoma National Guard is preparing to help local officials with influx of visitors chasing the solar eclipse. So yes, they will be deployed. Okay, and they're claiming here no. That's not correct. No, they are. Now, I'm not saying a catastrophe will happen. Right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is
they were playing on the word disaster because of a disaster.
Yeah, but actually not this one. This one. No, that was just the deployment of National Guard. No, that's false. It's not false. They are being deployed.
No, it's true. That's right.
So anyway, and maybe they're playing on the context as well, but you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there will be a disaster. I mean, there was an earthquake in Taiwan, the biggest in 25 years.
7.4.
Yeah, exactly,
3,
right?
4, it doesn't matter, yeah.
Massive, with the tsunami and everything. And I'm not saying there's going to be an earthquake on April 8th. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, so don't misquote me. What I'm saying is, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. Maybe because of the gravitational pull that might be in play, and with the alignment of the sun and the moon, it's passing. Actually, is it passing? Let me just double check. No, it's not passing over Yosemite. I was worried it might be passing over Yosemite, but it's not.
No. So the possibilities are that this is from the conspiracy theory ideas. Is there going to be a terrorist attack? Because we have you and I said there's 11 million undocumented people in there now from all nations. Lots of fighting age men and women. So, is there something? I don't know. I have no. I'm not in the loop. I'm not party to any of those discussions. I read about them, try to find some basis of fact in it, and I can't see anything. Remember, America warned Russia that that shooting was going to take place, and they immediately said ISIS did it, and Russia go, no, ISIS didn't do it, no, it was the US, and then ISIS go, we did it.
Shut up, ISIS.
It was us. You know,
Silence
you.
Silence you.
Right? Get in. So yes, I know that America's going to launch some rockets at the same time as all of this stuff going on. So I make the joke that it's if you were in, the Midwest near those, what do they call it? Nuclear missile, like missile fields or something, whatever they call them.
The silos.
The silos, but they're fields of them over great expanses, and there's 2 patches dedicated just for Russia and other targets. So, I heard they were going to launch some rockets. Oh, look, there they are. You see, like it's first strike, and they're all going up at once, and isn't that pretty with the with the eclipse, right?
Hey,
that's good. I'm glad I've got all that water in the car's full of fuel, because probably need that. And the kids, we don't have to get the kids; they're going to be with us. See, didn't send them to school. Think about that, Mickey. So the schools are closed, and you're a working adult, and times are hard, and you need your pay packet. You just need it. What do you mean your kid? I can't take my kids to school. Imagine that conversation. I know we're not accepting children. Go away, right? No, we're closed today. Right, so then I can't work. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Another step towards exasperating this unaffordability of our what should be prosperous lives. I still think, Becky, there was an old torture device where you put your hands in it. It was a Christian thing, believe it or not. And I think that the priests did it to get confessions out of people initially. I think they just ended up volunteering. They didn't want to go a part of this. But they would crush down on your hands with 2, things that just crushed each hand separately from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of seeing that while we should be living a prosperous, life with all of the things we have, it's not. I just see that there's a global effort for us to all be pressed down, crushed, all the things you can't have any of those things you used to want. No. Power. Power is incredibly expensive. I can't believe it's only going up. They keep telling us it's going to go up. Gee, they've got a crystal ball, those people. Right? They keep predicting it. It keeps happening, and they predict it. Oh, no, you're the person putting it up. Oh, right, I see, okay. So, I just don't know myself. I'm glad that at least the American people are being warned about stuff, at least something there. Oh, we told you so. You should have had that water. You should have filled your car up with fuel. So who isn't going to be supplying the water and the fuel and the food in the stores? Do you know what I mean?
Good question. Yeah, no,
it's not like there is a disaster, like a hurricane's come through. It's not like that's going to happen. I just don't understand. I don't understand, Mickey. We'll find out soon enough, but I don't understand.
Look, look, we're talking about a fraction of the population. Well, what these folk, parasites, the real parasites, always wanted. They wanted a garden earth, a parkland. The earth is a parkland for them to enjoy. I think the entire Amazon basin used to be a parkland. Most of South America, in fact.
Yeah.
We're seeing now that is actually the case. I mean, I remember I was talking about this years ago, and maybe even on the show.
Yeah, we did.
And what we're finding now is, it was a big parkland because it was irrigation and cities. I mean, the extent of the Amazonian cultures, because I'm pretty sure there are more than one, and It seems peaceful. Number one, it was peaceful because there wasn't terribly much warfare that we could find, at least yet, couldn't find any evidence for. But the irrigation was ingenious. There were transportation ways. There was housing.
Mm-hmm.
There was farming. This was a well-regulated.
They had sports
environment. Yeah, it was astounding.
Mind you, they kicked a poor sap's, severed head around. And played it like basketball, but they were peaceful people making.
But look, you know what you can. But they also had a special soil.
That's right.
And something that it's the red soil. I don't know if you heard about it. Oh, sorry, black soil. I think it's black soil. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Really, really rich and really, amazing. And it's like 6 feet deep. This loam, this layer of soil in places, and it was put there on purpose. It is manufactured soil. And we can't figure quite out how they did it. So this is agricultural engineering, terraforming even to some extent, on a scale that we can't comprehend today. Once it comes out, I reckon it's going to be the entire Amazon
basin. Absolutely. And I reckon there'd be 100 million people that live there at that point or something.
For sure. And again, we have no idea what happened there. Was it the Europeans that brought an end to it all? I don't know.
No, because I believed it ended shortly before they did all that.
Well, that's what I thought.
And if there was that huge meteor strike in the Pacific that wiped out all the island nations, for instance, and I know the Andes are pretty tall, but if there was one in the Atlantic Ocean, then that could have flooded them all away. Think about that. Because there isn't that much difference after the Andes, that the basin itself is pretty flat throughout. The fall isn't that much, so to the ocean in the east. So I wonder, was it a catastrophe in flood form?
Yeah, we heard about that before. It's funny, and it's also interesting because since you brought up the flood, and that's where I'm jumping now. Every researcher out in the world that is interested in this area of knowledge, if you will, slightly outside the accepted margins, they've all come to accept the flood myths as a global phenomenon. Every single one. You go to any YouTube channel or you open a book on the subject, a magazine that's interested in it, and they all agree. Now remember, the in A Shiny Side Out, the show that has the most show notes is the flood myths show.
That's right.
There were, and still are.
It's now identified as the Younger Dryas.
Exactly. Yeah. There's 100 pages of flood myths that we went through with you guys.
That's right.
100, by far the longest show cycle we ever did. I didn't think. When I started down that road, I go, yeah. Oh my God, what? And there it was. It was a revelation to me. I always knew about this, and I knew what the Egyptians said to Solon. I knew about the Mayans, and the fourth world and so forth. I was familiar with the yugas of the Vedic scriptures, etc., etc. What I didn't know is just how universal the I guess catastrophism as well as the flood myths were. I just didn't know, and I'll be honest with you, it did blow me away, Dave. And when we did the show, and we
what about the difference from when we first did it to when we revisited it and discovered that the Tower of Babel was also
connected,
part of that topic? Who knew?
Yeah,
and it wasn't there the first time we looked.
No, but that's the thing, and we found a few interesting things that went through this, like a little breadcrumbs. One was there were two distinct views of this flood event. One, it just happened, and there was no one was being blamed. It was just something that happened, right? And then the other one was a distinct feeling that we were being punished for something.
Oh, we were being punished for being naughty.
For something.
Naughty.
Well, I'll come to that in a second. There seems to be something there as well. So one I guess section of the world just had a catastrophe, whereas another section of the world or sections of the world had a theory around why that happened. An interesting one is cannibalism. The thing that people or a lot of cultures believed they were being punished for was cannibalism.
Right. That was what they believed was the cause.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there was language confusion coupled to this as well. There was a building of a tall structure, like the Tower of Babel. Right. So I know in the Bible there are two very distinct and very separate stories, but is it possible that they are actually linked stories? Is it possible that think about the human race. We're not, at the best of times, we're not really nice people. Okay? Is it really that far-fetched to imagine even a high-level civilization like ours? And think about all the things we do, right? Or allowed to happen, that engages in cannibalism. You would probably think that's completely unthinkable. That would never happen. Let me ask you this. Do you think slavery is something that would happen today? Do you think the abuse of children is something that would let happen today? Well, I have good news for you.
It's still happening, yeah.
All of it is happening. All of it. So is cannibalism any different? Well, it seems more grotesque to us, to most of us anyway. But honestly, if you're a part of an opulent society, maybe there was one facet of it. If you look at the Roman games, okay, there wasn't any cannibalism there, but there might as well have been, okay, because it was brutal. Okay, it was horrific what went on in those arenas. So it's hard to say, but these breadcrumbs were.
You mean like the Christians to the lions?
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, right. So people would willingly watch people get eaten.
Oh, yeah, but they loved it.
Torn apart. I know, yeah. Right.
So there was that. And then in a section, there was also a very distinct section with two other differences. One was survivors just survived because they were lucky. They were in the right place, they were in a hollow log, whatever, or on a high mountain, underground even. Yep. And then the other group of survivors, they had help. That's different kinds of help, and different, some were taken up one of them was taken up into a spaceship.
In a metal spaceship, yep.
Yeah. Others were told to build boats or given boats or all kinds of things. So
some climbed mountains.
Yeah, but again, there's
a
distinct difference, and it is really differences as well. And some myths talk about a rain of fire and
India
and water.
Yep.
Now, if you have an impact, right? Because some people believe it was an impact, right? Other people believe it might have been a solar flare. Again,
the Burkle crater has been named and dated as one of the causes, and there's two other craters in the Pacific, North and Mid Pacific.
That's right. So, look, something caused it. I'm not going to, nail myself down on the exact one. I don't know. I simply don't know. But there's strong evidence for a impact.
That's where people are heading there now.
Yeah, and there's also evidence for potential massive coronal, solar coronal flare eruption potential. But again, it doesn't matter. The point is, it happened. And so as we went through these stories, and they all had similar endings as well, where the waters would recede and the land was all mud and stinking with the dead. And some would release birds. Quite a few would release birds to see if they would come back. Others would release other animals, and there were a lot of similarities, right? Not similar enough to be cultural cross-contamination, but similar enough to go, okay, well, if something like that were to happen, then this is probably what's going to happen. That makes sense.
And then the post-flood redistribution of people with different languages.
That is also correct. And
so
that's
we couldn't communicate with each other.
Yeah. And the Tower of Babel, in my opinion, not a lot of time, but as we discussed, look, I always believed that telepathy was the original language. Okay? And we had a whole show on this. I'm not going to go into the detail here, but that's my belief, my conviction. I'm sure Dave is feeling similar because little kids and etc. The point is this, though. There seems to be something that happened that took that ability away from us. ability to communicate perfectly via telepathy, as it were. And we were then reduced to language, to sounds, and it was a new thing, and people couldn't talk to each other anymore that way. So they now had they found common languages, and that divided them. Because if you want to divide someone, any people from another people, language is the key divider. Okay? We are divided even when we speak the same language. A colleague of mine used to say we're divided by a common language. Because we say something, but we mean something else. That's right. Within the same language. Now imagine that happening I can tell you that German and the German language and the German thinking is distinctly different from the English language and English thinking. And Turkish language and Turkish thinking is different again. And Chinese thinking and Chinese language are different again. Now, for German, English, and Turkish, you can take my word for it because I know. But all the other languages, they also encourage a certain way of thinking. We don't think about that much. But let me put it this way: I say snow, right? Now to a Inuit, like an Alaskan or an Arctic Circle inhabitant, that I've got a very poor vocabulary because they've got scores of words for snow.
That's right.
And each one means something very specific, right?
That's right.
The Greeks had 8 or 9 words for love. Very specific kinds of love, like pathos, eros. I can't think of the others now, but they're all caritas. That's it. Not eros. And they're all very specific kinds of love. But we say love in English. Very poor. I mean, we have to give descriptive words. Oh, this is platonic love, right? Okay. This is physical love. Oh, I see. Well, this is the love of a parent or whatever it might be, right? Whereas there are actually words in other languages for these things. And Germans have a word for everything. They really do, because Germans love compound words. Okay, so it's a very rich language, and Germans also love run-on sentences. And there's a sentence I remember I was reading Bertolt Brecht. I think it was Death in Venice, and I think the sentence ran over the whole page and then a bit of the next page. That's one sentence. Now you try to remember what it said and what the subject was of that sentence. Okay. No, but people in versus the English, they like short sentences. They don't like run-on sentences. The English like, okay, you're saying something, you might have a comma and say a bit more, but then give me a new sentence or a new paragraph. Don't give me these long, convoluted things that don't go anywhere, like the Germans do. Okay. But it also then pushes you into a certain way of thinking, right? And this division of people couldn't be more genius. You take the common language away, and you're 90% there. You're 90% there, and that's what happened. I think that's really what happened. How did we get to that? How did we get here, Dave?
So remember the Hopi, Mickey? They didn't survive it like anybody else on the planet. They survived it by living with the ant people underground. That's
exactly right. Underground, yes.
They didn't go up in the air in a spaceship or climb mountains or fill hollow logs, and that's what the parents did for the children to save them in Japan. And they used wax to plug up all the holes so the kids could survive.
Yep.
Crazy story. I like it. But, those people who just moved their way to high ground and then further on up until it rose no longer with whatever animals came with and all people, and then walked back down as it subsided. Right. I would like to be in that group, or the ones that got taken by the spaceship. That's me.
Yeah, where are we going, guys?
One of those two groups. I don't really care.
Just come on. Someone pick me up. I'll chip in for gas money. I'll do. What?
I'll wash the dishes. I really don't care. Just whatever.
There you go.
Oh, guess what? 1 minute left.
Oh, jeez. That's not a lot of time. Look, again, thank you for sharing your precious time with us. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you were entertained. Maybe you even learned something new. That would be cool.
Good morning to you all, by the way.
Yeah, and please feel free to join in the chat. Of course, we had a really great conversation, and thank you very much, Flea, for being so interactive. Much appreciated, always. And I'm not going to say what you said there, Flea. I'm not going to repeat it because I want to stay on the air. Don't go anywhere. I'm sure something awesome is coming up. This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much. But most of all,